right, welcome to another Fragments of Silicon review session. Like, for a lack of a better term, we tend to have those a lot. Just very practical naming. Anyway, first up is A Hat in Time, a 3D action platformer from developer Gears for Breakfast. And
they have a really cute logo. I like it.
Okay, first I'll note, yeah, we're a bit late on this one. I got the code about a month ago, and there just wasn't a slot before this week that we could fit this in, because A Hat in Time, okay, its content length is kind of long but short. I'll explain. You'll note that we play a lot of short-type games on this program. It's like the game coming up is going to be fairly short. Next week is filled with short games. A Hat in Time lasts more than like 6 hours. But on the scale of 3D platformers, this is a really short game. Like, if a major publisher released this game, people would have flipped their shit because there are only 4 worlds. There are only about 40 time MacGuffins.
Hourglasses, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty much, it's like the first 4 or so worlds of, like, Super Mario 64 or something.
Yeah. So, and like I said, if Nintendo released this as the next Mario game, shit, I still remember people flipping their shit over Super Mario Sunshine having less levels than Super Mario 64. But
which, in that case, most of them were like bigger or more elaborate in some way. But yeah, this is definitely a indie scale game.
Yeah, it's like it's a pretty small team. I want to say like 14 people or so. Like, I'm not exactly sure, especially since, contractor work and all that stuff. But, it was a fairly small team. It's also been in development forever. Like, I think I heard about this game in 2012, 2013, something like that. Like, I mean, it's so old, it's using UE3 as its engine.
Yeah, it's not. It's got its rough bits.
Yeah, which once again is kind of expected because this is a 3D platformer, and the reason why you don't see a lot of 3D platformers flooding the indie market like you do 2D platformers is because 3D platformers are actually kind of hard to make.
Yeah, 3D platformers, unless you're like Nintendo, are one of the most difficult games to play because you have, on one hand, you have a limited world, and on the other hand, your character has a lot of movement options. So there are very frequently ways to cause pretty serious glitches.
Yeah. And that's probably the thing that's going against this game outside of the content concerns. You will get hung up on the level geometry, for instance.
And one thing that noticed that really bothered me is you can't jump upwards through the fronds of trees, even when they're like palm trees, and it really looks like you should be able to. You have to like jump from to the side of the tree.
Yeah. Or like your jump dive isn't as fluid as, say, Mario. Like, I gotta admit, Super Mario Sunshine kind of messed me up here because my muscle memory is like, okay, this jump works like this. Wait, no, why am I not?
Sunshine messed you up. I've just been playing Mario Odyssey, and that is one of the most polished to a shining gleam 3D platformers in the ever of history.
I don't doubt it. Like, yeah, it's like you're the only one here who has a Switch, so we have to take your word for it. I mean, and I suppose we should mention the Mario in the room. A Hat in Time definitely had the potential to be overshadowed by Mario, Super Mario Odyssey. Like, it certainly happened to another platform game that got released this week, Super Lucky Tale. Yeah, I
hadn't even heard of that one.
Yep.
And it's a platform game that came out on the Xbox One.
Ah.
You know, it's a sequel to like a VR-enabled 3D platform game. It hasn't been getting good reviews, and I suppose like the things that were going for it were it's a platformer on the Xbox One, and it's the best-looking platformer from a technical perspective of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I mean, I quantify that because it is a native 4K game.
Yeah.
Those are very rare. So just on pure objectives, it's the better looking title. That being said, I don't think anyone in their right mind is going to say that, you know, like either a Hat in Time or really any platformer is going to look better than a Mario game.
Yeah, it's a matter of, for this kind of game, I think the style matters a hell of a lot more than the resolution.
Right. And that being said, A Hat in Time has some really good style and charm.
Yeah,
Like,
it's super cute. Very cartoony in a good way.
yeah, like Naka is probably going to play this at some point if he's aware of it, because
Yeah, he does love them cute little girls with magic powers and stuff.
Yeah, and here's the thing: like the third hat you get is a witch's hat.
Uh-huh.
Oh boy.
Oh, I don't doubt it. Like, yeah, basically a tiny witch in platforming form.
Uh-huh.
But you know, that's not the only hat you get, and the hats are important because those are your skill sets.
Yeah, the initial hat, the one she has in the character art, is the hat that you use to find the next hourglass.
Mm-hmm.
The first one you get is the dash hat, which first upgrade you get is the dash hat, which lets you run fast.
And speak of the devil, Petty,
Yep.
Petty just unlocked the brewing hat. Show that off.
Left button.
Yeah,
left trigger, I think. Left button to switch hat, left trigger to use hat.
Give him a moment. He's getting used to the controls.
Oh. I'm the exact opposite. So yeah, the story of this game is very, very simple platformer setup. You are a kid with a hat who has a flying spaceship for reasons that is powered by hourglasses. You pass through Mafia Town space on your way home, so a mafia man appears outside your window of your spaceship in space and knocks on it and then opens the door of your spaceship in space to try to get you to pay the toll for traveling near Mafia Town. This results in all of your power MacGuffin hourglasses being sucked down all over the planet, and you have to go and get them back. And then when you go down, you meet Mustache Girl, who is a little girl in a red hood and a mustache. And at first, she teams up with you, but then, spoilers, she's kind of evil.
Well, it's kind of revealed in the if you die, you see a silhouette of Mustache Girl like Bowser.
Mm-hmm. Like, well, and then even before that, like when you've just made friends with her, she comes back to your ship to plan your assault on your mafia, and she's talking about killing them and like grinding them up and putting their remains in jars and selling the jars for lunch money.
Right.
Not exactly wholesome.
No, and yeah, after the first boss encounter, she's going to become your primary nemesis because okay, so while the primary influences of this game are clearly, you know, the typical Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie, Mario Sunshine influence really shows in the secret stages. Like, you'll
they have the you don't have your powers stages?
Yeah, those. I mean, you do have your powers, but like they even have those square blocks with the little nubs on it that you had to run.
Yeah.
I'm like directly from they look directly from Super Mario Sunshine.
Yeah, this game, I would say, out of all the games, like there have been a lot of games that try to be like Banjo-Kazooie. This game is really very specifically trying to be like Super Mario 64 Sunshine.
Yeah. Also Paper Mario, because this game is even for a platformer, kind of cracked out. Like, I mean, you're seeing the first stage here, or the first world, really, because the game is set up Mario 64 Sunshine style, where you have to get a specific hourglass per mission.
Yeah, it's not like Odyssey and like parts like 64 was, where you have a lot of like you have one that you're aiming for, but you can like go out a lot. This one, the missions are much more specific to whichever one you choose to go into the stage, which I don't know, to me, I feel like this game would have benefited from having a little bit more sandboxery, but I also assume that would have been way harder to code.
That was probably not an option with the team here.
Right. Yeah, I would love to see. I would love to see a sequel to this that's like fully fleshed out and.
Yeah. Getting back to my point, you'll note that the first stage is Mafia Town. You're dealing with the Mafia, and it only gets weirder from there. Like, a highlight is the second world, where you are a pawn in this ever-escalating war between rival movie bird moguls. It's fucking insane. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Somebody tell him. I know a Naka game when I play one. This is a Naka game, and like I said, and the whole bird movie director thing. That's something out of Paper Mario.
Yeah,
it is.
In fact, Paper Mario 2 did specifically have the Mafia Town thing, kind of. I mean, it was Rogueport is not just a Mafia Town, but
it also had a train level. So it's worth keeping a note on that. So, yeah, that's definitely one of the high points of this game. Is it's really, really creative with its worlds. Like, you're not getting the typical grass, desert, ice, fire levels. You're getting curious situations with quirky characters. I do enjoy that. Some of them. And I should note, this has actually been a pretty banner year for 3D platformers. Probably the first one since the early 2000s. I mean, because, well, not only have we had, like, the releases of all the Cadillac franchises, we've got a new Mario platformer. We got a new Sonic platformer. And I mean a new Sonic 3D platformer. Hell, we got a Crash Bandicoot remake that was pretty good. Down to, lesser 3D platformers getting remade. Voodoo Vince, the Blob games, and so on and so forth. And not really because that's a 2D platformer. I'm talking about 3D platformers specifically.
But Bubsy is a 2D platformer, because even among Bubsy, we do not talk about the 3D platformer.
No, that was just an abomination.
Yeah, it's like when you're talking about the forbidden thing, that part is still forbidden.
Yes. And, we're also getting new original 3D platformers. A Hat in Time here, but there was also the aforementioned Super Lucky Tail, and of course there was Yooka-Laylee. I don't know if Yooka-Laylee truly lived up to the hype, because I haven't played that one yet. We didn't get a review code for it.
Yeah, I think it's from the little bit I've played, I feel like it's pretty much what was promised, but that people didn't want exactly what they were promised quite as much as they thought they did.
And there's Petty Fan clipping through the floor.
There are sometimes glitches.
Yeah. It really can't be avoided. If you're somebody who's going to get grinded down by a lack of polish, then I will say avoid this game, because it doesn't get better. In fact, I myself stopped playing the game after dealing with the lack of polish. It's something that doesn't... It's something that builds up. Like, after falling out of a tree for the 500th time due to poor level geometry physics. Like, if you remember Sonic 2006, where like the characters would be tilted to match like the slope of an angle and kind of thing. Same thing here. Yes. Right. But like I said, in general, this is an amazingly good 3D platform because honestly, it could have gone a lot wrong in so many ways.
Yeah, especially for such a like smaller scale production that took a games that take a long time often have way more problems than this one did. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, time for an aside because well, there's some controversies we've got to address here. Two of them specifically. I'm like, one, I'm not exactly sure what happened, but so the music. This music had guest tracks, specifically a few tracks from friend of the show Grant Kirkhope.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you don't know who he is, well, he's the guy who made a lot of good music for Rare. Not the only one. Yes, David Wise and all that stuff, but you know, he's the one who did like the Banjo Kazooie stuff and Donkey Kong 64 and Ukulele, among other games. And he contributed some music to this game and apparently had a falling out with the developers over spurious circumstances. Like I said, I don't exactly know what went down there because all parties kind of clammed up, probably for legal reasons. But, you know, probably far more egregious is, well, the whole JonTron thing.
Mm-hmm.
So JonTron provided his vocal talents to this game, and if you don't know why that's a problem, or if you don't think that's a problem, well, you haven't heard JonTron racial views recently. Like, racial views, I might add, that got him shit canned from another 3D platformer. When the ukulele makers found out about this, they dropped his voice.
In fairness, ukulele is a lot easier to drop someone from since everyone in there just does banjo speak, whereas in this game it's actually fully voice dialogue.
Right.
Which is a little bit harder to re-record.
Yeah. But I'll note that was like a good 6 months before this thing released. So I don't know if it was feasible to drop him or not.
Right.
But I think it was more they stuck to their guns and just had JonTron there. So I'm like, if you don't feel like buying this game for, you know, not wanting to support a racist, I understand. You know, it's like, you know, there's no real defending what he said, and he is a part of this game. You know, personally, I think he's not a big enough part of it to make the difference. But on the other hand, just dear God, the fucking shit he said.
Yeah, it's not like it's JonTron presents a JonTron production starring JonTron. He plays like a small character. But
I'm like, you know, I leave that one up to the buyer.
Yeah, if it's a deal breaker for you, then be aware of it. If not, the game has a lot of good things to offset that.
Yes.
And I had already bought my copy before the whole JonTron thing came out anyway, because I got it through the pre-selling. I didn't quite make the Kickstarter, but I got it through the pre thing where it was like at a discount and you could get a good 2-pack deal with the soundtrack.
Right. Speaking of which, the soundtrack is pretty ace.
Yeah, it's very fun music that fits the type of action you're doing in the game.
Yeah, and you know, it's world appropriate. You know, like the spooky forest music's spooky, and so on and so forth. You know, I'm like, I think I'm trying to remember. Like, I think the music here was, you know, big band because you're in a casino. And another aspect we haven't talked about are the badges. So the badges.
They're upgrade thingies.
Yes. Well, it's because I can see it. So
This
These
guy is
like
creepy. I thought it was graphic glitches at first, but no, he just looks like that.
speaking of oh right, speaking of graphical glitches, another thing I haven't mentioned yet. If you're playing this game on a laptop, be wary. This game doesn't play well with integrated circuit boards. Like it kept asking me to switch to dedicated CPU, and I don't know how to do that because the control panel that they were asking for, I don't have.
Fair enough.
So I'm not sure how much of that affected the game, but it was definitely a thing. Anyway, getting back to the badges, they provide different abilities, ranging from the super useful, like the item collection badge that Petty Fan just bought. I don't think I ever
Lets
took
you
that
pick
off.
up things from a little further away from you.
Yes, this is especially important because another bit of unpolishedness was I was having trouble picking up the collectibles unless I was had a certain hat on or I went back into the menu and reset something. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't say hit detection problems so much as some interaction detection problems are a little weird. Like sometimes when you're bouncing on a line, like you won't bounce quite smoothly, even though you seem like you should be.
Right.
Or you
Right.
won't always collect something when you thought you did.
Yeah. It's also worth noting not all the badges are useful. Some are novel. Like the most expensive badge I saw gives you the ability to bring in banjo talk. You know, they all talk with the the
So,
banjo.
like, if you really dislike Mustache Girl's voice,
Yeah, you can change that to gibberish.
although actually, Mustache Girl herself is almost a silent protagonist, but she does still have minor voice lines for like, "I'll take that" and stuff for when she gets a. She never has like lines of dialogue really, but
Oh, you mean Hat Girl?
yeah, is that what I said?
No, you said Mustache Girl.
Oh no, Mustache Girl has very full dialogue, and her voice is a little bit weird
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah, like
But no, Hat Girl herself is not quite a silent protagonist.
she's like Mario in the sense that she will speak in gameplay. Like when you're collecting those save tickets, she'll
Uh-huh.
say 1, 2, 3, I got it, kind
Mhm.
of deal. Like you need a bucket of crabs to get past that point. Anyway, let me think. Uh, oh right, you can also get Rift tokens. They're an additional MacGuffin that allows you to unlock the more frivolous uh, items, stuff like stage remixes, different hair colors, and so on and so forth. You can also unlock those if you complete a time rift mission.
Mhm.
Um, that's worth noting. And you know, structure-wise, outside of the mission things, you don't have to play the you don't have to play the world's mission to mission, like necessarily. Like sometimes there will like 2 missions be unlocked, or you can unlock the next mission if you pay 50. Trying to remember the name of the currency they use.
The gems, whatever they're called.
Yeah, they're like it has a specific name, but I can't remember it.
Mhm.
Like Bob's or something. This is gonna bug the shit out of me. Like, let's see. Release date. This game came out on the PC last month and seems to have been enjoying some robust sales. I've seen that it's sold about 50,000 copies. I'll be honest, I'm not sure how good that is because, you know, indie games. Uh, that's good for an indie game studio, but it's also this game is more than a like 2D Metroidvania title.
I
Well,
hope it's doing well.
well, it's also got a planned console release coming next year, I believe.
Mhm.
Currently for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. No word on a Switch version yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I assume the Switch could handle it. and it would be very. I think it would. Well, on one hand, it would suit a Nintendo console well, but on the other hand, it would be competed with much more sharply on a Nintendo console.
That is the catch-22, isn't it? Like this game is definite Nintendo fodder, but on the other hand, it's like releasing a kart racing game. You're going up against literally the best of the best in that genre. Now, so maybe it's better sales-wise that it doesn't appear on the Switch, or maybe it coming out like a year from now would work best. I honestly don't know how those details work.
Yeah, I'm sure that it's up to the company to decide how they want to try to do it.
Yeah, it's like, so price. All right, so this is another point of contention.
Yeah, this game is going for $30, and then
Mhm.
the soundtrack is available for $10, or you can get them at a bundle for like $35 ish.
Yeah, as usual, if you're gonna buy this, buy the bundle because that's, you know,
Yeah,
Nine
the soundtrack in this is worth having if you like game music.
9 times out of 10, the best purchase is going to be the bundle. Now, outside of that, $30 felt a little too expensive for this.
Yeah, it's kind of short, so it might be better to get it on. I mean, I don't think it's like a complete, and it's not totally unreasonable, but for the amount of content in it, it's probably closer to a $20-$25 game.
That's about where I was leaning. Now,
that said, I'd still, if you're on the fence and you can afford it, I'd still say get it and try it out. It's fun and cute.
It's hard to say when this game's going to go on a proper Steam sale. Like, mind you, it could go on sale on the Humble Bundle, because this game was actually the first title to be published by the Humble Bundle.
Yeah, and that's how the pre-order thing I did was through Humble, I believe.
Is that still a thing you can do over at the Humble Bundle?
I don't know. I haven't really checked. I mean, I don't think it's that much of a improvement over the final release price, but
let me just check to see what they got on the Humble Bundle, since same price, not a surprise. Official websites. Also worth noting, yes, this game is on Macintosh as well. No Linux release yet.
Yeah, it looks like it's the same on Humble Bundle.
So looks like that thing was a pre-release enticement.
Yeah. It wasn't even that big of a discount. The reason why it was a good deal for me is because I got a 2-pack because I was hoping to sell it to a friend before I donated it to Petty Fan for streaming purposes.
That seems to be working. Anyway, so Petty Fan, what are your thoughts on the title since you've been playing?
Yeah, that took some getting used to for me, and the jump dive is very propulsive. You really go like rocketing forward, and if you don't land right, you land on your face and have to jump to get up.
Indeed. No, that's right, Twilight. You didn't play this, did you?
Nope, I don't have the game.
Right, fair enough. Anything else you want to say about A Hat in Time?
It's no Super Mario Odyssey, but I definitely still think it's worth your time trying it out.
Yeah, it's probably worth a purchase if you don't have a Nintendo Switch, because if you do, I would ask, why aren't you playing Super Mario Odyssey? No offense to A Hat in Time or any other platformer out there, but a 3D Mario platformer is the best of the genre. I don't think
because Nintendo does not release them if they aren't.
yeah, it's like I don't think that's a controversial statement to make. But that being said, not everybody has a Switch. Not everybody has Super Mario Odyssey. So you're looking for something to be comparable in the ballpark. This will do it. At the very least, an appetizer until you get it for like a Christmas gift or something. Outside of that, yeah, a decent enough pickup, solid game. Hopefully, the console releases are a bit more polished. Like maybe they'll patch this up. It's hard to say, but outside of that, yeah. Recommendation to buy.
Yeah, I definitely come down on that side.
So that'll about do it for this release. Be sure to stay tuned. We've got Archaea the Enigmatic Isle coming up next. And until then, I wish you good gaming.